So the house cleaning will be, of course, please sign up to the other channel. I will try to find some system for people who want extra content and error perks through Patreon or whatever. We'll get through that. But let us get to the thing with Gerry. And why is this so important? Well, first we're going to have to do a little dodge by allowing Rinder to speak. Basically, maybe not lying, but mythologizing in a dangerous way. But we have to hear him speak because Gerry will clarify the fairy tale that Rinder has been selling for years and years, and even good people have repeated it.
If we turn off the faucet of all of this Freedom Magazine's investigating, exposing ads in USA Today, it was a major campaign. Can you resolve our issues? And Fred Goldberg said,
well, unlike other people, I can own up my mistakes. So this also happened in Going Clear, which I do recommend. It is a good basic documentary, but gets many things wrong, including this. For years and years and years, when people are asked, how did the Church of Scamology get the tax exemptions? They're like, well, what happened is this, as Mr. Aussieland Super Spy has said. Well, how is Mr. Miscavige? Yeah, he just rushed through the door of the IRS. He went to Washington, D.C. He's a really evil clown, man. He just barged in and said, Mr. Gold Guy, we want that tax exemption. And the Gold Guy was like, yeah, could you turn off the faucet? He's like, yeah, I will turn off the faucet. And then the faucet was turned off, and magics, because of the Freedom magazines, and they publish stuff. Okay, that is the basic gist. Freedom magazine published a few nasty articles, and they did, and they investigated some IRS people, which they did, etc., etc. And, Mike is exaggerating a little bit, but it seems like, they did fair gaming, and the fair gaming, basically the IRS was forced into giving them the IRS tax exemption. No, that is not true and or relevant. You can investigate people, and you can publish nasty articles. Pointing to those things will not challenge the church in any way. So here is the real history, and it's much more boring, but essentially in 93, the Clinton administration, and I'm going to do a lot of digging there because this subject I do know very well. I know the Clintons very well, done tons of research on them. This aspect, not so much, so I need to do more digging. But the Clinton people and one of their appointees, they signed off on it. Not the Gold Man. Gold Man, yes, he did some negotiation. And yes, they did meet, but this is not like, magically Miscavige showed up in 92 and forced his way into the IRS. That's not what happened. They had years and years of negotiation. But the Clinton people finally signed off on it. But this is what's very critical. It was all a lie. We know it's a lie. But here's the thing. To Gerry, and again, I'd have to do double checking. Let's be devil's advocate. But I totally believe him. When they submitted their forms, they lied on the forms. This is where Gerry is critical because he can be used as testimony. So they had to invalidate his testimony. They had to say he was crazy, don't believe him, because Gerry was affirming the obvious, namely, the statements they were submitting to the IRS were lies. If they are lies and factually false and can be proven in a court of law, the tax exemption goes away. So now we'll hear Gerry, really a little bit of the real history.
IRS knew they did not deserve. Scientology was making false statements to the IRS that the IRS, the FBI, Justice Department, and probably the whole of the U.S. intelligence community, they knew were lies. That's where the key is, and that's what Rinder will not come clean about.
So the basic punchline, and it is powerful, is we've basically been obsessed with a fairy tale that really is not relevant. We could go on and on about fair gaming, the PIs, and whatever, harassing IRS agents. Not really relevant. The really important thing is, did they lie to the IRS? And what's critical here, and this is where it gets a little spooky and problematic, is by accepting these false statements, the IRS and the church have been conducting a criminal conspiracy together. It's not just the church. The IRS knowingly knows these are false statements, but they've never been challenged. So basically, the IRS and the church are tied together in this conspiracy. Does that mean it's hopeless? These are very powerful people. No. Again, Gerry's out there. He's been submitting these statements for a while. So all we need is we need enough legal support to challenge the church factually, to look and re-examine what they submitted to the IRS and prove they lied. And if we can prove that, tax exemption is gone. It is not valid. That whole the gold guy and Miscavige busting into the IRS office and all that. Just this weirdo fairy tale. He just burst into the room and faucets and, you better give me that tax exemption. And the gold guy, oh, I'm so terrified. Oh my, the IRS are victims. And Rinder even says, it was reported by other peoples. So his role in all this is very simple. Clarify and validate Gerry's testimony. Stop lying about him. But in terms of the deeper level is stop telling this fairy tale, which is distracting and goes nowhere. It will not stop the church. Gerry can stop the church. Genuine lawyers who have genuine knowledge on tax laws can stop the church. But Rinder's like, you know how we could get rid of tax exemptions? And he points to the camera. Look at me in my super sexy Aussie accents. Call your congressman. That'll stop the church. Calling your congressman ain't gonna do anything. It's just been a wild goose chase for over 2 decades. Hopefully people are ready to stop listening to the fairy tale and get down to real history. I will do more on this. Please check out Alonzo's blog and other places. I will do more work on this. And you be safe.